Hello everyone and welcome to Gierok Farms. In today's video we are going to be giving you a crop tour. We know that some of you have been asking for it down in the comments. We haven't done a yearly crop tour yet. We're filming this here on August 24th to give you a reference. We're approaching here on third crop. Corn silage would be right around the corner, and then dry grain a couple months after that. Pastures are still good, but we just finished up with morning chores, so we thought we'd take some time here while the hay's drying that we have cut and show you what we got going on here. So anyways, the dad cut this, what, 2 days ago, this hay here?
Yeah, 3 days ago now. Normally it would have been baled yesterday. We've been getting dry weather, but it's been clouding up in the afternoon and it's cooling off now. I mean, it's pretty damp. Makes me think we should have just waited for silage, but that's the fun of it. We just never know.
Oh.
You know, if you didn't cut it, you'd have these beautiful sunny, windy days. But right now the sun's out, and but it's cool. And it was blossomed, so it was time to cut it. And I thought this one, the issue was, so the second crop, we didn't make the second crop so quick. Took almost 3 weeks to get all our second crop made. That'd be like 60 acres. You know, waiting between the rains is about a week between every cutting. So like this field's a week behind this one. So I thought maybe we'd bale some before we chop. That's how that goes. But yeah, this stuff here is, you know, there's a few blossoms coming, and right now we got this really great window for dry weather anyway. I mean, we ended up with what, 10 inches of rain over 3 or 4 days here about a week and a half ago. So, but that's starting to settle out now, where I think the fields would be okay to go drive around in it.
It's cold and windy and cloudy.
Yeah, and that's kind of that, you know, so we're still August yet, so we still got longer days yet. But I only made hay, tried to make hay, dry hay twice in October. And here by us, it was beautiful sunny days, but it's just too short of days, and it's never, you know, it's almost like baleage, you know, it doesn't dry right. It's too cool. So then it's either make silage out of it or be done with it. So my goal is to be done with this by the end of August. Typically they want you to be done cutting your hay, you know, alfalfas by the end of August, so they have enough time to recover for winter. And then there's other theories. Well, they say as long as the crop is fed well, fertilized well, got plenty of nutrients, even if it was cut later, it would still survive the winter. And then of course it depends on the winter and how old the stand is and the location of the stand and all these other things. So, but typically it's just nice to be done with that, to give us peace of mind to say, okay, now we're done with haying, put our haying machine away, we got our corn silage stuff, and then we'll be putting that away. And then there's usually a nice big gap between corn silage and dry grain and picking and all that. And then we can do projects. You don't have to think about, oh, should we go out in the field? Is it be a good day to make that, get that crop in?
Yeah, but these two hay stands here, so this bottom strip, that was new seeding last year, correct?
Yeah, we had oats here last year, and it looked really patchy. In the combine when he went through, it was wet, and the oats turned out, you know, it was lodged up a lot, but it combined well in the straw and everything. We got it nice, but where them tracks were from that huge combine, there was, you know, I thought we're going to see that, you know, that's not going to recover. And then here in the spring, it's just perfect. And then now yet too, you know, it's the third crop of this, and it's perfect. So now our new seeding here from this year, and this is something I've been watching over the last few days, because now it's finally, you know, growing to the point where you can actually see something. It's a little bit thin. You get these spots. I see velvet leaves coming, but this is a year for velvet leaf. But that's never going to seed, so it's really short now, but I still want to cut it once yet this year. Usually we put this in with the corn silage, so it could be 2 weeks yet before corn silage. I don't know. And there probably won't be that much here looking at it the way it's going right now. I think the other end is a little better, but in here I don't really see anything. Just a little bit of alfalfa. And that, like I said, new seeding's kind of interesting. It has a tendency to be able to fill in. So I'm thinking, again, this year being so hot, so humid, everything got so overgrown so quickly. The oats really laid down, and it's amazing he even is able to pick that up. You guys probably seen that in a past video, but so we ended up getting oats, excellent straw, and I think the straw is better than the wheat straw that we've been buying, so we're going to be using that on the cows. But yeah, then we cut it once more, and then like our strip down along the road there, that one we took off and we put it in the silage pile over first crop, because first crop got late, so then there was enough there to cut. That was oats with the new seeding, and it was a small load, but anyway. Then the second crop, we baled it, was better. Now it even looks better yet. Even though there's still some weeds coming, that's just typical producing, especially on a year like this. Broadleaves with all that moisture and the humidity. When it comes to these type of things, you just got to take what you get, and next year you make a decision if you do anything different about it.
But anyways, while we're up here, we can show you our corn.
This is the first year I planted. I think it's a 95-day rank. So you see out on the edges here, that's from the deer. It's easier chewing on the edges than it is going in.
Yep.
I had one guy one time, I don't know if I believe this theory, but he wanted to plant wide row corn because he thought the deer with those big horns could run through it easier. Narrow row corn, he thought there might be an issue, but I don't think they're going to get too fussy. I see she's denting. A little bit of mold there, and that could have something to do with all the humidity. They were not filled out quite all the way.
We're at some tip back.
It was corn 2 years. This is
Okay.
the third year, so this will be oats next year.
Okay.
So this actually was going to get seeded, but since I had quite a bit to seed down anyway, I thought we'd put it in corn again.
Well,
Yeah.
so for third year corn, that ain't too bad.
No, but I'm kind of, this is different, having this tip open like that on all of them. So I don't know what makes that. If that's something to be concerned about or not. There's a little bit of mold on each one of those.
I'm sure there's some fungus getting to it with all the humid, hot weather. That's been a problem this year with, even though it's been a great growing season.
I mean,
Yeah.
the stalks look really good and healthy and thick. The cobs look pretty thick. You know, but look at that kind of. This is the first time we've been looking at this year. And, we'll have to see if we get some of this in the other fields.
Yeah, you got some rust here. I think that's just because it's hot and humid this
Yeah.
summer. And then being third year corn too, there's going to be more disease pressure, but the cobs are girthy. Those are some thick cobs. That's what I noticed about the rank varieties. I planted some rank for myself this year, and they put on a very thick cob.
Yeah. Well, last year too, it showed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was a difference there.
But anyway, so yeah, that's a third year corn on a hillside here. We'll go show you some of our corn on corn fields. All right, so this is that new seeding piece that's pretty unique for us. This is normally corn on corn because it's one of the few flat fields on this farm. But the reason we took it out of corn and rotated it into hay is because of this plant right here. These morning glories.
And this will get chopped. We'll put this in with silage this year. You can see them, they're more along the edge. There's a few in further.
In this piece, due to the weed pressure throughout the summer, we did not leave the oats. We harvested the oats, we chopped that, and then we baled for second crop, right?
Yeah.
And then now we'll chop for third crop here.
Actually, it was some real nice days there. That ended up drying. It was hot and it was humid, but it dried. It dried enough. We were feeding it to it.
But yeah, you can see those morning glories in here just thick yet. They're vining up,
And I don't know how that seed is. If that seed, I'm assuming after a few years, what doesn't germinate will just won't be able to germinate anymore after a
Yeah.
few years. So you can imagine that's littered with seed from last year, and they're all sprouting and growing, and that's kind of what you want. And then they'll hopefully we don't see it next year.
and the reason we're rotating out to get rid of that weed is because it caused a lot of trouble with picking.
Yeah, it didn't seem to. The corn seems to be already pretty big before that stuff starts to crawl up. But yeah, it was wrapping in the machine. And
Where for hay here, it'll get cut and it'll go through the chopper just fine. It'll probably actually add some protein and tonnage anyways. So.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to affect it much, but it ain't going to yield up that much that way. So that's the story with that.
So this is one of our flats here, one of our main flats, and this has been corn on corn for a long time.
Pretty much forever. I think I remember once here before I bought this farm that they had hay on this field for a couple of years. Typically hay on these bottoms don't last because it's wet. It's might get a couple of years out of it. But we still got some of that tip back.
But the ears are looking really nice.
Yeah.
They're starting to dent too.
And I think this is a 98 day. And this one's been known a little bit more for silage again. And the cobs are maybe a little bit shorter than like our sod fields and stuff. But other than some of that grass pressure, because there's a few places, I did have to spray twice, but I just spot sprayed and it actually looked really good. The corn was about 10 inches tall already. It looked really good. I didn't see any reason to go back in, but again, all the rains and damp weather, I think the once the punchier spray's worn off, it's still got a good chance to start anyway.
But it's still way better than last year. Last year, especially on the bottoms with all that excessive moisture, it really set the corn back.
Well, that's the one thing with these bottoms. So all the moisture came later this year, at least the big rains.
Yeah.
We didn't get no gully washers until July. And if you get a lot of heavy rain early, like in June, corn don't need a lot of water to start with.
And once it gets established, it can handle heavy rains.
Yeah, I don't think it's... We got a little tip back on all of them. But that's maybe just the way this year is going to be. I don't know. We'll see. It's going to make feed. But the stalks look healthy.
And as for that grass pressure Dad was talking about, it's still here, but that's the nice part about corn is that once you get the canopy, you don't have to worry too much.
And I think it's more about it competes with the nutrients. And of course this year we had the moisture, so that didn't matter for the corn. The other thing is I'm a little bit leery on how it's going to work out with cover crop, because some places it's heavier than here.
Yeah, there's a lot of foxtail. It's the weed of the year down here.
Then the other good thing is it's okay. So they got this whole cover crop idea. Well, that's a cover crop. It's already there.
Yeah.
It's there's no erosion and things like that, and it kind of keeps everything in place, and it didn't affect the corn yields.
Yeah, and with chopping it shouldn't make a difference. That corn head works pretty well, even if there's some grass. All right, now we'll make our way across the road here. That's a little different scenario.
See, we all got that. They ain't quite filled out the same. We got one with the husk already dry on it. This stuff actually looks further along than the other side, but the plants look really good. And you can tell from looking off the hillside that this field, normally the other end especially, there's some wet areas in there, and it looks really good this year. It done quite well anyway. And this one had cover crop on. This one is treated the same way as that one, but this field's generally a little bit wetter for me. But the plants are really tall, still a 98-day rank. I don't know what the number is. I'd have to look at my records. We got that rust coming and some of that. I don't think this is going to be too long, but it's barely starting to dent here.
Yeah, so when you're deciding to chop, Dad, what are you looking for when it comes to the milk stage of the corn?
Well, if the cobs start looking like this one especially, but obviously these are all milk yet, but I still like to see just a little bit of milk right on the tip yet in there. But this is obviously all milk, so that's the way to test for milk. Here if this cob is fully dented, you would, that's the way I like to do it. And if I still got a little milk right here, then because there's so much moisture in the plant, and what'll happen is, so what we do is we put it on top of that hay, and the hay soaks it up. We don't lose it. It doesn't drain out. Like if you put the stuff in like now when it's so wet green yet, if you just put it on a pile, it would be like a trickling out.
Yeah, we can get away with taking it a lot wetter compared to neighbors.
As far as that, the other theory is it ain't all the way ripe yet. It ain't got its starch yet. Kind of getting ahead of yourself as far as getting the full nutrients that the plant could provide for you too. I know one guy, he used to chop it quite young because he had it bordering a bunch of fields he wanted to graze, so he wanted to get it off, and it was like even under the choppers running pencil thick between the feed rolls, and you're losing nutrients. So he kind of had to weigh that out. So he got some really, and then we didn't have processors in our choppers. See, so that's another thing. Now we got the processors, so you can chop your corn, with your cob a little drier, which is going to have more nutrients in it. And usually the stalks hold on to the moisture longer anyway. So as long as it can ferment good and stuff, it still works out.
Yeah, so you're looking for full dent, and then maybe a quarter of the kernel got milk in it.
And then you have to look at weather, your help. All these scenarios kind of have to come together to a certain degree, especially if we're going to put a pile together. We can't, once we start, we got to go. Usually I would say over 4 days, we end up getting both piles done and our silo. And then there might be a little bit of refilling I do later on. I can kind of handle that myself.
And the nice part for us with corn silage, it's pretty easy going. It's all of our flatter fields, and the commute, or the haul time is pretty minimal. And now we have an extra box to haul with too.
So we're able to kind of...
Another tractor. And
one thing I noticed is leaves nice and thick. They're very leafy stuff, so I think we're going to see some tonnage as far as the plant itself. The cobs, I'm a little disappointed on a lot of this, and I think it's just it's a climate thing, it's the weather. Because these varieties usually are filled out pretty good. We'll see now, we'll check some of our other fields. And that's the only thing, I got only these 2 varieties.
Yeah, you hate to put all your eggs in one basket, but then at the other time too, you can't be like me, where I planted 3 different varieties.
Yeah, of course, when you're dealing more with more acres of dry grain, and then it's nice to experiment a little bit.
Yeah,
I just don't see it making that much difference in the end, because you don't know what you're gonna get anyway.
Yeah.
You're gonna hit it right.
Certain years work better for other varieties. Like last year, that Dairyland was side by side with your rank, and they kicked the crap out of it.
Yeah, it just didn't, and that was a high-end corn for you.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised too. It just didn't look right. I don't know what it was. That should have, that was a great example of for side by side, when it was just a little wet corner, a little center. It was right in the center field too.
Yeah.
I ran out and I just used up whatever you had left to finish off the field. And
Every year is different, that's for sure.
And then this year you probably, who knows, could be the other way.
Yeah. All right, we've moved over to the corn on sod field. There's a lot of corn on sod this year for Dad. You got...
Yeah, last year we bought some off of you, so they didn't take as much out.
But this year you probably have, what, double compared to last year?
We got, and this field's been in hay for, I don't know, it's been probably 8-9 years.
Yeah, it was.
So it was due to get something, and even then the hay still didn't look too bad. But these look way girthier.
Yeah, not as much tip back, just a little bit.
Now this is a 98-day. So what I did is, because the 98-day was Roundup ready, and the 95-day wasn't. So I was a little concerned about my burn down here, so I used up all the 98 on the edges, and we'll go see. But yeah, I don't know how many rounds we got there, 18 or so. 18.
18, that's nothing to complain about there. So yeah, this is 98 day, and then the inside you said you had what?
The inside was the same as that first field we looked at. That's a 95. You can tell from the hill, this plant is shorter. The corn looks just as healthy. A little bit of that tip back, but nothing quite as bad as that other field. Now, I don't know, that other field too, the soil conditions change as it wraps around the hill, so...
But there still is fungus pressure with this variety versus the other one.
Yeah, see, now this one this was a plain Jane. It was a cheaper corn to buy. And like last year it did really good, what I did have. Other years I planted that same one for quite a few years. So like this year, yeah, that 98 day would have been the one to plant, but you don't know that.
Yeah, and I like that Dad brought it up, that it was a cheaper variety to plant, and that's a big thing too, is that return on investment is everything. Just because the crop looks really good doesn't mean it's,
made money.
Yeah.
So you got all these inputs, and that's why we drive around too and we look and say, okay, so guys are... So there's certain guys, a lot more of these guys for side dressing now after the corn's been, canopied and that. Some of these guys got those machines. When I was younger, we started farming, nobody did that. Then you have to say, well, their corn looks really good, but then how much did they put in it to get it to look that good?
Yeah.
And even though it looks good, because you side dress, so now the plant's nice and green, it's still shorter. The cob is it, you'd have to get in.
Is it filling out? Yeah.
Yeah, so you got all those variables too.
But anyways, there still is a difference between your 3-year corn piece and then your sod piece here. The sod definitely carries those nutrients later in the year, and it shows here with filling out the cob.
It's still 18. You don't even look it, but it's definitely. So my plan is we're gonna put a portion of the bottoms for silage, and then there'll be a little bit of picking down there, and then all my hill fields will be cribbed. And what don't fit in the cribs, this is the field that I would leave like the center for dry grain or to shelling. If we're still debating, because we may have, because I'm wide row, I don't have options. Not everybody's got a wide row combine to do this for me.
Yeah, it's harder to find someone to combine wide row.
So we're not sure if the guy last year is gonna be doing it again, so that might be something. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But what we want to do, and especially in these hills, is we want to leave a field that's going to be out in the open, and it's going to be easy to get to in case we get snow or bad weather or something like that, in case it had to stay there later. I try to get the steeper fields off, or the wetter fields off if you can, when you can.
Yeah, and even if we had to pick it ourselves after you made room, this field would be the best option for
Yeah, so some of that, and like I said, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I'd rather have it shelled, get done with it, get our corn stalks made, and just be...
And wildlife pressure is the least here, probably.
Right, it's got, it's more down in the valley, there's less woods.
Yeah, it's more cropland here.
This one here is definitely going to be the kick-butt field. And it'll be interesting to see now that I got 2 different varieties in this field. So I got my headland rows, and then I suppose about a third of this field is that longer day with all the traits in it. and then the rest is just kind of this plain Jane variety. And this variety too, they do add all the traits to it too, but then the price tag goes right there with it too. Typically on sod, you don't have all that, the insect pressure and different things that you would on corn. So then that's where I would so-called cheat.
Yeah, you can get away with like conventional corn,
And that's
with less traits.
And then there's all those theories about, you know, genetically modified this, that, and the other thing that, you know, should you use all that if you don't feel you need to?
And there's some guys that get some really good yields off of conventional corn, and then the money isn't so drastic versus the other way. In some cases, for those of you that don't know, a fully stacked out bag of corn can run $400 to $500. You know, I'm sure even more than that. Versus conventional corn can be in the 200s, correct? That's
yeah, I mean, there's a big gap there. The reason we started using it way back in, I think it was 07 already, I noticed severe pressure chewing away at her.
Insect pressure, yeah.
It was bad, and I felt that we were the refuge. Agronomy guys that sold us this corn, I said, you want to stop and look at that? And he said, yes, you're the refuge for all the crop farmers around you. Because that was kind of when things were turning the corner for everybody's getting out of dairying or cattle, and they were becoming crop farmers, so there wasn't as much rotation going on with hay and stuff where I realized on the corn we're just gonna have to buy the high-end stuff. And you hear it both ways. You hear one guy will say, I don't care if it's on sod or what it's on, we're gonna buy the best and we're not gonna worry about it, and the next guy will play with that a little bit. But you have to realize that our world of farming is, the corn is a fraction of everything we do. You know, we got the cattle, the hay, the pastures, and then, you know, corn silage, of course, so that the dry grain end of it is a smaller part of everything.
Yeah, it's diversification. Anyways, the weed pressure too, while we're in here, is yeah, non-existent.
Yeah, so put this down. I think we did it on the same day as you did yours.
Yep.
We're right in there.
Yeah, you did this in the morning, and then I did mine
You
in
took
the
the
afternoon.
sprayer and did yours, and then it's all about. So I just followed the same program I followed in the past, same rate of that product and everything, and being that this hasn't been in corn forever, I thought, well, it's going to work the same. And then it wasn't dying; it was still green, it was almost greening up. So I had the guys look at it, and they said, well, we got a different year here. So then we had to go back in again, and we put our conventional sprays on with it, and it worked. And I was concerned because that Roundup product is, you know, this corn, this variety that I put in the middle didn't have that trait. I was concerned that it would. They said if it comes in contact with the seed, so I had to look at my seed furrows, make sure they were closed up good. There's a couple little spots I could see from the hill, that little tiny spots that seed must have got the spray on it. Anyway, it was still probably a good call, because if we didn't control the grass, the corn would have been completely different than this. It did turn out real good, and even the company that helped me figure this out, they were pretty impressed driving by this right by the road, so they were able to see what results they got with their recommendations.
Yeah. So anyways, that's some of Dad's corn on sod here. We're gonna go down the road to some of my corn on corn. I'm really excited to see what that looks like. That's a pretty challenging piece. So on the way out here, we were noticing that with the longer day maturity, the stalks don't look as well. Well, they look as strong. So later in the season, as we get dry down, maybe this stuff will break off sooner and might be harder to pick.
We're noticing a little different, but these are definitely, but they're still good. I mean,
we're down on my corn on corn piece here, and we're along a lower edge here where we opened up in the fall, if you've seen that video, and that's looking really nice here. We got, you know, maybe another pass of corn along this one edge, but there is some wildlife pressure here, but that's pretty common with a field like this. Compared to the last one we're on, this one is completely surrounded by trees.
They're gonna have good lunch here.
Yeah, but anyways, let's walk in a couple rows here. So this is 30-inch rows compared to Dad's 38s, and I am very happy with how this field looks compared to years prior.
Yeah, you did well. You kind of learned the first year, and then you kind of upped your program a little bit here. Of course, you were able to come in the fall and do some stuff with the field.
Yeah, I was able to get it ready.
Yeah, so you got some nice girthy ears there. I'd bet that's 18. You might see almost double the yield here than you seen last year, but you did put more into it too.
Yes, I put a pretty heavy rate on compared to last year. Last year I side dressed because we had so much moisture. It was probably the right call, but on this field there's a lot of crop damage, a lot of turning around. It's not very square.
So I think your listeners, they should tell us what they're seeing. You got a lot of that where it comes to a point, but none of them are filled out. So that's almost, I think that's going to be a trend this year for everybody, depending on variety probably.
Yeah.
But you got nice girthy ears, so it might, you know, something like that probably might fool a guy too. Because let's just say if the cob was only that long, you'd say, hey, it filled out.
Yeah.
You know, you might have longer cobs in the process, but your stalks look really healthy and green and leaves and stuff.
Especially considering it's corn on corn. There is a lot of disease pressure here. It's been corn on corn for probably, I don't know, over 5 years for sure.
Yeah, probably 10.
Yeah, and I noticed early on there was a lot of chewed up leaves mid-season, and it really pulled through that. It really, whatever insect was getting after it. Yeah, we got some rust.
And that's been going on down there too, so I think that's going to be kind of our trend around here in general. I think all in all, your plants are tall.
It's good to see improvement. That's what I'm happy about compared to last year.
And you know, you're learning, and in this on rented ground, you have to tell yourself how much you want to put in it. You know?
Yeah, ROI, that's a big one. And another thing too, compared to Dad's, is I got more plants out here, being it's 30-inch. So we'll see how much of a difference that makes.
But then those deer hunters, I don't know, it's going to be a very big rack fit through here.
Yeah.
Just to have wider roads.
All right, so on our way back home, we figured we'd stop by one of the pastures out front here, and the pastures are doing really well this year, huh, Dad?
This field normally is just grass because we got our trench in it, and it's kind of got sandy on it, so it's about 4 acres. And this is the first one I cut when we started our first cutting. So we got this open up by the pile, and then whatever comes back after that ends up being pasture. And I see the foxtail and everything has really gotten it. But I mean, all the pastures are growing so good. We did redo that fence. You guys probably seen that in a video here. So for a couple months that was completely open, where the herd could just blend into our permanent pasture. This year cow we just put in there. She's mad because she's got to live here now for a while, but she just doesn't realize how good she's got it. Yeah, foxtail, everything has gotten 3 dry cows here. Maybe you can put 1 or 2 more in here yet, but they'll see when you lock them in here, and then they got water by the creek, so they're able to focus on just trimming this down instead of just certain areas. But yeah, a lot of ragweed. I noticed that Queen Anne's lace is that white flower. Some of this I mowed with the bush hog, I think about a month ago, a few spots anyway. But I hate to do that because I think the cows are going to be able to do a lot of trimming here. Now Holsteins aren't like beef cows. Beef cows, I want to think the beef cows eat a lot of the weeds that the Holsteins won't. For one thing, you're feeding them some in the barn because you want to get milk. So they'll stick their nose up at certain varieties, certain plants. Your pastures don't get trimmed as good by a Holstein as they would a beef cow. So I think we got enough moisture now. We could probably make it to October without getting a whole lot of rain anymore.
Pastures are looking great. So there was a crop tour for you. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. Leave some comments down below. We love learning from you guys. By no means do we know everything, and every year is a little different. So it's fun documenting that and sharing it with you at the same time. Let us know down in the comments too how the crops are looking in your area. With fall approaching here, I'm pretty excited to see what kind of yields we have and how everything finishes out here. Thank you all for watching. Thanks for the support. Remember, like, share, comment, subscribe. Check us out at GierokFarms.com. We got some new hats on there. So anyways, stay tuned for other videos, and we will see you next time.